Hello, listeners. Now we are going to start this podcast like every day, but in this time we have an special guest. He is an expert in an important critic, so let's give it a round of applause to Camilo Suárez.
Thank you, Andres. For me, it's really a pleasure to be here in tonight's podcast, since I have been a book and some different authors enthusiast for a couple years. That will be pretty much all for my presentation. Let's start with the questions.
First question: what is your favorite book, and it is possible give us a fast summary?
Well, first of all, I when you refer to my favorite book, there is not really a bad book. I just think that there's bad readers. There is books. Well, there are books for every kind of person, right? You got fantasy books, terror books, paranormal activity books, etc., and enormous, etc. But my personal favorite will be The Hearing Sons, written by J.R.R. Tolkien, where he presents us a sort of history, a sort of tale in the Lord of the Rings saga and universe. But hey, you didn't invite me here to talk about my favorite book. You invited me because you had to talk about The Diamond as Big as the Reel's history tale, whose author is F. Scott Fitzgerald. And well, this guy puts us in a sort of situation, right? Where there is this secret association, call it a group of persons, or some kind of group whose principal members, well, only members, are millionaires and essentially very powerful and rich people. These people is just doing their normal activities, but in this island because this is not situated in a very concurrent zone. It is indeed an island, as I mentioned earlier. I would say it is a very interesting culture, right? This is a society where there is no poorness, there is no denied persons. And it's pretty curious how they seem like they just grabbed an enormous, a colossal diamond and literally protect it with their lives. And also, the fact is that if you think it's similar to a sort of reality show, right? I mean, there is this group of people. Well, they are millionaires, right? They have their dramas, they write their lives, their stories in here. It is very fascinating how Scott Fitzgerald managed to encourage the reader to keep reading, even though the story is nothing related with who you are. It is also very interesting how the Sir Fitzgerald introduces a sort of romantic history, right? The second chapter of the book, we can see how two characters whose I thought at first that they wouldn't really make a couple, right? But they ended up having a sort of relationship of love and that.
Okay, this is so interesting, but I have a little question. Have you had a similar experience?
Well, of course I have, Andres. You see, there was this group at seventh, sixth, and maybe eighth grade. For well, it was confirmed by people who were very active, right? They were deportees, they were artists. There was there was a lot of members of the school band, right? But these people were strange. Weren't really a normal kid. It was because they somehow, as in the book, had like that extra economy boost bonus that most of us don't have or didn't have. It was curious because they were normal people, but they only manifested that rich person sort of thing when they were in groups. I mean, this kid, he was great at soccer and was part of the group. He by himself was not any kind of bad guy, etc. But when he was at the side of, I don't know, I remember this really good at dancing girl. He was indeed a beast. He was an absolute jerk. He was also annoying. And well, it's pretty curious, right? Because what encouraged these people to act like that when they were with these people? Also, by the fact that they had a sort of rare uh, taste for saying it some way. Some people used to bring some really strange things, like some dried fruits that were actually disgusting, but also generally having a bad taste. They were easy to convince, and as I could see, the most of them were really bad at school subjects. So yeah, that would be the experience, right? It is curious how the times have changed, even though there's the it seems like not. So thank you again, Andres, for inviting me to this podcast. It has been a really fun time and a great experience.